Hello everybody, I am Sin vs. Gaming, as you all may or may not know. Today we're checking out a bunch of different controllers to see how they hold up in Clone Heroes gamepad mode. Today I'm going to be breaking down each controller by layout, how the buttons feel, action time, and my overall experience with it. So there's some pretty big changes coming to gamepad mode coming up. When you hold down the trigger and you let go of the trigger, those will both count as a strum input. This is definitely going to change how you look at this in the future, but at least for the moment, before the next update comes out, I want there to be a definitive guide for you guys to choose and start. Not everyone can afford a guitar controller, so this is why I am here doing this now. For this review, I set a strict rule set for myself. I had to play each controller for 1 hour straight with no breaks to really put them through their paces. And to finish things off, I tackled the infamous GH3 chart through the Fire and Flames. This way I could see not just how the controllers feel initially, but how they hold up under some serious stamina and precision pressure. I've tried everything from my old PS2 controller all the way up to the Switch Pro. So let's jump right in and see which ones are worth your time. I'm not reviewing the PS1 controller because honestly, there's no real point. Most PS1's controllers don't even have the left or right sticks for whamming, and the buttons are tiny and flat, not built for Clone Heroes gamepad mode at all. The PS2 controller layout is decent for Clone Heroes gamepad mode. The face buttons and frets well enough, and the L2 or R2 for strumming actually feels really nice thanks to their placements. That being said, the flat trigger design isn't as ergonomic or satisfying as modern curved triggers. This is where the PS2 controller starts to show its age. Buttons feel rough. There's a lot of friction between the plastic parts, and that makes longer sections feel so much less smooth. It's something you might adapt to, but not something you'll love. If we're talking raw responsiveness, then this controller is fast. The short travel time on my L2 and R2 means your strums register almost instantly. For simpler charts or casual play, this responsiveness is a real top tier strength. At first, I almost forgot I wasn't using my PS3 controller. For easier songs, it holds up surprisingly well, but when things get technical, with fast zigs or tricky patterns, the lack of precision really starts to show. The stiff thumbsticks and generally cheap feeling build also makes me worry about long-term play. It works, but it's far from ideal. While the PS2 controller does just enough to be playable in Clone Heroes gamepad mode, it's not particularly comfortable, consistent, or confident inspiring. A nostalgic option, but not one to be built for the demands of high-level play. The DualShock 3 sticks to the classic position layout, but adds a slightly wider grip compared to the PS2 variety. That added width makes a noticeable difference, especially for players with large hands. The controller feels more stable and less cramped over longer sessions. The face buttons have excellent responsiveness, and once broken in, they offer almost no resistance at all. Every press feels intentional and fluid, which is exactly what you want when chaining together rapid frets and transitions. The trigger response is fast, near instant with minimal travel time. Since this is my main controller, I've had plenty of time to dial in exactly where to press on the triggers. That said, if you're new to the DualShock 3, your mileage may slightly vary as you get used to the feel. My experience with the DualShock 3 has been overwhelmingly positive. For me, there isn't a better controller out there for Clone Heroes gamepad mode. What really seals the deal is the availability of PC drivers, making it almost a plug-and-play device. The grip is comfortable without getting in the way, and for someone with XL-sized hands, it fits like a glove. The only real complaint? I wish the X button wasn't placed quite so far down, but that's nitpicking. With a tight layout, responsive buttons, and seamless PC compatibility, the DualShock 3 is one of the best gamepad options out there for clone. It strikes the ideal balance between comfort, responsiveness, and versatility. It's hard to ask for much more. The DualShock carries forward with the classic PlayStation layout. Clean, familiar, efficient, not too much to criticize here. It's also a tried and true design that works well in a rhythm game context. The L2 and R2 triggers feel solid and secure, but they're fairly short. That becomes a big problem if you use your finger to swing down and tap. Your fingers end up hitting the back edge of the trigger, which is sharper than you'd expect. It's not painful, but over time, it adds a noticeable fatigue. That said, the membrane face buttons feel soft and responsive, and the triggers still deliver a consistent feel. It's a bit of a trade-off, but not a deal breaker. The response time is a strong point. Both the face buttons and triggers activate with very little travel or delay. For Clone Heroes' fast no charts, this level of responsiveness is a huge plus, and that makes the controller feel fast and agile. The DualShock 4 surprised me. It's sturdy, reliable, and has just enough heft to feel premium. Maybe shortening the trigger pull distance or even swapping out the mechanical components for a more cleaner press. Initially, I was worried that the trigger's resistance might burn my stamina over time, but honestly, it felt just as manageable as any other setup I've used. The DualShock 4 blends modern build quality with responsive inputs. And while its triggers might cause some finger fatigue for certain playstyles, it's nothing that mods can't fix. If you already own one, this could easily be a mainstay for your Clone Heroes sessions. DualSense keeps the familiar position of the PlayStation layout, but expands the body, making it noticeably wider. That added width does not add much to the terms of comfortability or functionality. In fact, it sometimes works against you depending on your grip style. It's familiar, but not necessarily friendly to the rhythm game precision. I expected the upward curve of the L2 and R2 triggers to be more of a problem, like how it was on the PS4, but surprisingly it wasn't. The curve slows inward before rising, softening the impact of your fingers during quick sessions. The real issue relies with the L1 and R1, as they have a strange sort of sticky feeling, especially when pressing closer to the inside edges. You're almost forced to reposition your fingers to the outside of the buttons for a consistent result, which can be awkward mid-song. The activation time is fine, and triggers and buttons respond decently, but it doesn't feel as snappy or as sharp as other controllers on the list. L1 and R1 are actual buttons, which is really good, but it feels like they use a servo-like mechanism that detects depth rather than relying on a classic membrane switch. It's not slow, but it doesn't feel exceptionally fast either. My time with the DualSense was okay. If it's the only controller you got, it'll do. But you definitely feel it. The controller's weight makes longer sessions tiring. The wider grip caused issues with hand positioning. Fingers used for red and yellow, like index or middle, tend to wear out quicker, making stamina a concern. It's a functional fallback option, but far from ideal. The DualSense isn't a disaster, but it doesn't exactly excel either. It's a usable backup if nothing else available, but the comfort issues, button inconsistency, and overall bulk hold it back from being a serious contender in the Clone Hero gamepad mode. The footage you're seeing here is from Guitar Hero 3, but my statements still hold true since I used this controller during the transition period between Guitar Hero 3 and Clone Hero. I just don't have any of that footage available. The Xbox 360 controller is still a solid fallback if you don't have anything else. The face buttons feel surprisingly tactile for its age, which is a definite plus. However, the oversized lanky triggers aren't great for fast strumming, and the servo-style triggers lack the crisp feedback you want from a rhythm game. The grip and overall comfort doesn't quite hold up for long Clone Hero sessions. So while this does get the job done, it's definitely showing its age compared to its newer options. This is your standard Xbox layout, but with a twist. Instead of the classic D-pad, the Elite controller comes with a removable circular disc. That sounds cool on paper, but it becomes a real issue in practice, especially when trying to hit star power mid-song. It's harder to reach and definitely not optimized for the kind of fast-paced, precise inputs Clone Hero demands. The button feel is where things start to fall apart. At first, everything feels premium. The buttons click very nicely and the build feels solid. But once you're actually playing the game, the triggers become a real problem. When you're tapping rather than pressing, especially at higher speeds, the swoop up of the metal design on the back trigger digs right into the first joint of your fingers. It's just not uncomfortable, it's genuinely painful. In terms of the activation time, the Elite Series 2 shines. In practice, because the metal triggers stop earlier, there's no cushioning, and that just increases the pain during long sessions. This controller is a mixed bag of potatoes. The buttons feel great, crisp, and clean, but the pain from the triggers absolutely kills the experience. My stamina was completely drained. I usually can get up to 2.5 hours of Clone Hero before fatigue starts to set in. But with this controller, I tapped out after 30 minutes. Even after I made the rule that I have to play for an hour straight, I couldn't do it. For all of its premium design and customization, the Elite Series 2 is not suited for Clone Hero's gamepad mode. It looks the part and feels great in your hands, until the metal trigger pain kicks in. If you value comfort or play for extended periods of time, this controller isn't for you. The Switch Pro controller blends elements of both the PlayStation and Xbox layouts. The triggers are thinner, more like the L1 and R1 on the PlayStation, but unfortunately it lacks larger, full-size trigger buttons, making the back feel pretty slim. The overall build is a bit thicker, leaning more towards the Xbox-style grip, which helps with the comfort despite the narrow triggers. Almost everything feels mechanical except the face buttons. The triggers here, in particular, have minimal travel and slightly rounded slope, much like the PS5 controller, but less sharp. The subtle inward curve before the upward slope on the triggers help keep the finger fatigue low, which is a nice touch for longer sessions. I wasn't expecting much from the activation speed going into this, but the Switch Pro impressed me. It's incredibly responsive. Every button press registers instantly, and the mechanical feel nearly disappears during play, which is exactly what you want when tackling fast, complex note charts. If I had to pick up a backup controller for Clone Hero, this would probably be it. The grip is decent but not outstanding, yet the responsiveness and comfortable triggers more than make up for that. It's a solid choice for both casual and serious players. The Switch Pro is a strong contender for Clone Hero gamepad mode. Responsive, comfortable enough, and built for fast inputs. It ticks most of the boxes. Definitely worth considering for your main controller. Let's go over the top 3, shall we? In place number 3 comes the PS4 Controller. It's solid all around, it's got the standard PlayStation layout we all know, and the buttons are snappy with fast action. The only real downside is the L2 and R2 triggers. They're short and angled just enough to wear on your fingers over time, but nothing that couldn't be fixed with a few modifications. If you've already got one lying around, this controller holds great in gamepad mode. In place number 2 comes the Switch Pro Controller. This one surprised me. The mechanical feeling buttons, tight response time, and super clean trigger design made for a really solid session. I never felt like I was fighting with the controller even at the end of the hour. Sure, the grip isn't ideal for everyone, and the shape takes getting used to, but if my PS3 controller ever gave out, this would be my backup. And in my number 1 spot, the PS3 controller. Who could have guessed? This thing is still unmatched. The layout is familiar, the grip is comfortable, especially for larger hands, and the buttons are buttery smooth once broken in. It's got one of the shortest activation times I've felt in a traditional controller, and with easy PC drivers available, it's basically a plug-and-play for Clone Hero. Honestly, if you're serious about playing gamepad mode for Clone Hero, this is the closest you'll get to perfection. Alright, that's my rundown on the best controllers for playing Clone Hero in gamepad mode. Whether you're grinding through the fire and flames or just jamming out, hopefully this helps you find the right setup. If you like the video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. If you have a favorite controller that I did not get to in this video, please let me know in the comments down below and why you think it's so great. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll catch you in the next one.